Environment and natural resources. In this module, you will learn how environmental concerns affect global politics. June 5th is World Environment Day, and on this day, people come together to put up posters, plant trees, give speeches, or have debates to spread awareness. But why is environment such a big concern, and what are we doing as inhabitants of the earth to protect it from the catastrophic impact of climate change? Let's find the answers to these questions in this module. The Earth's atmosphere, Antarctica, the ocean floor, and the outer space are global commons. What makes these resources global is that they are common and shared by all. Also, these resources are outside the jurisdiction of a single sovereign state. Scientists say that if the average global temperature rises by 2 degrees Celsius, it will affect the entire world. The Earth is going through some difficult times, and its environmental concerns are global warming, ozone depletion, water wars, loss of biodiversity, melting Antarctic, rising sea levels, and scarcity of natural resources such as water and land. The Club of Rome, a global think tank, published a book in 1972, Limits to Growth. This book drew attention to the depletion of the Earth's resources against the backdrop of a rapidly growing population. In other words, our current resources won't be able to meet the demands of the generations to come. In the same year, the United Nations held a conference on human environment and established the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, with its headquarters at Nairobi, Kenya. The UNEP brings together the United Nations environmental activities, assists developing nations to put into action environmentally sound policies and practices. In 1992, the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development was one of the most significant efforts to save our planet. This conference, popularly known as the Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was attended by representatives of 170 states, NGOs, and multinational corporations. One of the major outcomes of the summit was Agenda 21, a wide-ranging action plan adopted globally by the United Nations, governments, and NGOs. The number 21 refers to an agenda for the 21st century. An important success was an agreement on the climate change, which in turn led to the Kyoto Protocol, which aims at fighting global warming by cutting down emission of greenhouse gases. The efforts are not enough because global warming is still a huge problem. The polar ice caps are melting at an alarming rate. The confusion is whether to choose economic development or environment, and how to fix responsibility for the degradation of environment. Let's recall what we have learned. Major environmental concerns: global warming, ozone depletion, water wars, loss of biodiversity, melting Antarctic, rising sea levels, scarcity of natural resources. Efforts made by world community to protect our environment. In 1972, the Club of Rome, a global think tank, published a book, Limits to Growth. In 1972, establishment of United Nations Environmental Programme. 1987, Brundtland Report, Our Common Future. 1992, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, popularly known as Earth Summit, held in Rio de Janeiro. Issues of environment politics. Politics around fixing historic responsibility. Developed versus developing countries conflict over ways to deal with climate change.